Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. Some breaking news. I've got emails, texts, messages, social media posts, etc., about something that happened recently. Information came to the public tying a person who allegedly killed his parents and was planning to assassinate President Donald Trump. And broke Friday. There was a release, I think, of one of the federal documents. And so people got more details about this guy who was arrested back in March. Today is April 13th. His name is Nikita Casap, Casap. And we're going to watch a video here. We're going to go through the search warrant and the search warrant affidavit, I think. Also, the criminal complaint. And if you're watching this on Rockfin, Rumble, or X, you'll see the cover of my book, which I published in 2021, and so much has happened in 4 years. So many things, 764, Terragram, and many cases, many arrests, and new terminology, really, like CSAM, and there's this nihilistic designation too, which I hadn't seen before, which you'll see today. But this guy was sophisticated. He was online. He was on, I think, Telegram, talking to somebody in Russia. And I was on a big Russian station talking about the global death cult, talking about the Order of Nine Angles, because they have an Order of Nine Angles problem. So this whole global death cult, I think, was a fitting title for this book. And I'll bring that up. I'll show you a link. And YouTube will translate the Russian to English, although my sequence is in English. But I think it was watched like 1 million times in Russia, or worldwide, I should say. I don't know how many times in Russia, but I think the Russian guy has like 5 million subscribers. So it's a big channel, but this is an interesting case, and there's a lot going on here. This guy's very sophisticated, not that sophisticated, but 17 years old. He knows technology. And he lists through some of these names that I've gone over. And I've done a full chapter on Siege, James Mason's book, Siege, which is in Global Death Cult if you want to read that. The book's still available. But let's watch this video, and you can take a look at this guy, Nikita Casap.
Federal search warrant, unsealed Friday, details a murder plot as part of a plan targeting President Donald Trump. The documents attribute that plot to 17-year-old Waukesha student Nikita Casap. Charged in the shooting deaths of his mother, Tatiana, and stepfather, Donald Mayer, inside their home February 11th. According to prosecutors, the teenager stayed inside the home with their bodies for 12 days.
Victim B body was appeared to have been deceased for some time, was unable to definitively identify who it was.
Police arrested Casap in Kansas weeks later, finding him with his stepfather's car, gun, and $14,000. The motive for the murders, according to the federal warrant, was to use that money to fund a plan calling for the president's assassination, to, quote, foment a political revolution in the United States and save the white race. According to the records, Casap shared an affinity for the neo-Nazi group, the Order of Nine Angles. And they also reference a 3-page manifesto quoted as saying, as to why, specifically Trump, I think it's obvious. By getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president, that is guaranteed to bring some chaos. The records show Casap on the platforms TikTok and Telegram discussed buying a drone to use in an attack. And investigators say he told a classmate, quote, when they saw 10 consecutive attacks in the news, it would have been him.
Right, so that is the thing. They mentioned the Order of Nine Angles. The Order of Nine Angles is in all these articles. And the articles are all over the country now. But I will go to this criminal complaint and then the affidavit for the search warrant. Let me see if I can bring that up. We'll read through this together. So this is what was filed March 26th. It's a 13-page document. Goes through the charges. State of Wisconsin. These are the state charges, not the federal charges. So I don't know what the federal charges. I haven't seen anything on the DOJ yet, Department of Justice, but it will be forthcoming, I'm sure. But they charge him here: first-degree intentional homicide, 2 counts, hiding a corpse, 3rd count, 4th count, hiding a corpse, 5th theft, movable property, 6th theft, movable property, operating a motor vehicle, and then count 8, identity theft, count 9, identity theft, and then here's the probable cause. His parents, as mentioned in there, were missing for some time, so they kind of were trying to track down the parents first and get a safety or proof of life designation. And they call them Victim A and Victim B, but it's the parents. And they lived in Waukesha, strange place, Waukesha, Wisconsin. And there was a well-being check on February 28th, and the son identified as Nikita Casap. They made a call. The caller was identified as he was missing from school for 2 weeks. On February 28th, deputies responded to Cider Hills Drive and attempted to make contact at the residence, but nobody answered the door. Deputies asked dispatch to check with local hospitals, and deputies were advised none of the occupants of the residence were located. They checked flock cameras, local cameras, and they saw them driving around, the victims driving around on February 11th. So they called the company. Last seen was February 13th. There were messages made by somebody said that he wouldn't be back at work till March 3rd. Said reports indicate, based upon all the circumstances, on February 20th, 2025, Waukesha County Sheriff's Department personnel entered the residence for a well-being check on Victim A and Victim B and the defendant, who is Nikita Casap. Upon entering the garage, deputy responder indicated there was a black BMW registered, but the Volkswagen Atlas was missing. The access door to the residence was unlocked, and Deputy Sponder opened the door and announced their presence. He immediately smelled the odor of decay and observed a large amount of clothing and household items in the adjoining hallway. He observed a blanket covering something in the hallway leading from the access door to the kitchen. And when the blanket was lifted, Deputy Sponder observed a female wearing a long winter coat, who was subsequently identified as Victim B. Victim B's face was blackened with decomposition, and there was dried blood located on the floor surrounding Victim B. Deputies located a possible bullet hole in a wall near Victim B's body. During search, located a second deceased subject on the first floor office. That individual, subsequently identified as Victim A, was covered by blankets and pillows. Deputies observed an obvious wound to the back of Victim A's head. Deputies and detectives had information that the family had a small black dog, but the dog was not located during a search of the residence. Further, the defendant was not located at the residence. At approximately 10 p.m., Deputy Tipton entered the defendant as missing and entered Victim A's Volkswagen Atlas as stolen. Going through the house, officers observed artwork throughout the house appeared to have been taken down off the walls and put on the floor. The mattress on the master bedroom bed was taken off the box spring. Drawers were opened and items were strewn throughout the residence. And closets were gone through with items being taken off shelves and thrown to the floor. So they went through. There were things missing. iPad was missing. There was $500 in an envelope. And there was consistent with the number of empty bank cash envelopes located in the island in the kitchen. Dispatch requested emergency pings on the cell phones belonging to Victim A, Victim B, and the defendant. In reviewing the data records for the cell phone device associated with the defendant, records indicated the first stationary time of significance was the city of Walcott, Iowa. So this guy, Casap, was headed west. Walcott, they informed the police. There were charges on gas pumps headed west. Victim's vehicle was seen. System caught Victim A's vehicle. He was traveling in Illinois. Victim A's vehicle traveling westbound on I-80 in Nebraska. Said reports indicate during a search of Victim A, Victim B's residence, officers located a receipt indicating Victim A had purchased a Smith & Wesson .357 Magnum firearm. And during the search of the residence, the firearm was not located. So they are watching him. There's things missing. There's snow. The Ring doorbell picks up these vehicles. So things are moving around. Detective Seitz did not attend the autopsies of Victim A and Victim B on March 1st, 2025. During Victim A's autopsy, a visual confirmation for Victim A was not feasible. However, through other records, Dr. Biedrzicki was able to subsequently make positive identification. So death certificates were done. And then reports indicate Sheriff's Department personnel retrieved Victim A's Volkswagen Atlas, which was being taken into custody by the Waukene Police Department. Waukene is in Kansas. It's really right in the center of Kansas. Did assist in the search of the vehicle. There were 3 credit cards in the name of Victim A, a credit card in the name of Victim B, a jewelry box containing multiple pieces of jewelry located in the trunk area of the vehicle, a pried open safe, a Wii surveillance video camera located in the trunk. There were United States passports for Victim B and the defendant. Detective Stilling observed photos within the vehicle, and in looking through one photo memory book, he discovered $6,000 in U.S. currency consisting of $100 bills. Further, Detective Barr located $8,000 in U.S. currency consisting of $100 bills in a Bible. He further located birth certificates. There was a receipt for pick and save, and there was ammunition for the body. Specifically on February 20th, 2025 at 3 p.m., the defendant, that's Casap, Nikita Casap, entered the room and stood near the mound of blankets and pillows, which appeared to be in the same position as when detectives entered the office on February 28th. So that was 8 days earlier. The defendant bent over. This is from a video that was taken. The defendant bent closer to Victim A's body, holding a phone in his right hand as if taking a picture. The defendant then grabbed the Wii camera and turned it around. At 8:25 p.m., the camera is turned facing a chair, and Detective Seitz heard presumably the defendant state, quote, "So you can see him there. I can literally see the effing rotten body there," unquote. Said reports indicate that the defendant was taken into custody on February 28th, 2025. He was in the possession of a wallet containing banking financial cards associated with Victim A and Victim B. So you had debit cards, gas cards, multiple pieces of jewelry, 22 necklaces, 20 rings, 20 sets of earrings, 5 pendants, 5 bracelets, 1 pin were located. Blue topaz diamond that had a value of $6,240. David Seitz did speak with Victim A's brother, who stated the last time he had contact with Victim A was February 14th, 2025. The last exchange he had with Victim A's phone occurred on February 14th, 2025, in which he reached out to Victim A at 7:20 p.m., indicating their mom believed that he was sick. Victim A's phone responded, but looking back at those text messages, Victim A's brother believed Victim A's responses were somewhat unusual for him. There were schools. Last attendance was February 11th. So they were trying to trace how the parents were last seen alive. It seems to be February 11th and 13th, shopping and driving around. Reports indicate that on March 7th, 2025, Detective Frederick spoke with an individual who attended Waukesha West High School with the defendant, hereinafter referred to as Witness A. Witness A indicated she was in a class with the defendant and he had added her on Snapchat. Initially, she had thought the defendant just wanted to be friends, but later he showed more interest in her, and she indicated to him that she was not interested in him. The defendant then blocked her off Snapchat, but then added her back as a friend a short time later. She said the defendant began giving her artist recommendations, which she believed to be Russian, as well as Wikipedia pages, and they were all in fascist activities. The defendant stated to her that he was sending her some cool stuff, and he was sending her things on homo-fascism and gore edits. And she finally told him she did not like those things, but she wanted him to stop sending them to her. When asked what a gore edit was, Witness A stated it was gory, war, and horror. with flashing sequences and flickering images with Russian music. Said reports further indicate Witness A stated the defendant would say a lot of concerning and odd things, such as giving her a detailed description of how he wanted to kill himself. She stated when the defendant would send her a detailed message about committing suicide, she would tell him he needed help. The defendant told her he had a happy childhood but wanted to know how it felt not exist. Witness A stated she implored the defendant to get help on multiple occasions. Witness A reminded the defendant he has parents and reasons to live, and the defendant told her he was planning to kill his parents, then himself, so they do not have to live without him. Witness A told the defendant that was not okay, and the defendant told her not to worry because he was not going to follow through on it. The defendant further told Witness A if anyone found out what he told her, that something bad was going to happen to her, or in his words, quote, it wouldn't end well for her, unquote. When Witness A was asked how long ago the defendant told her he was going to kill his parents and then himself, she estimated it was the end of December 2024 and into January 2025. Detective Fredericks asked Witness A if the defendant said how he was going to kill himself, and she stated that he said it would be either in the spring or fall, and that he was going to jump off a bridge. Again, Witness A told the defendant to get help. Said reports indicate in further speaking with Witness A, she told Detective Fredericks the defendant had told her he was in contact with a male in Russia through the Telegram app, and they were planning to overthrow the U.S. government and assassinate President Trump. Witness A told the defendant he sounded like a neo-Nazi. Then he blocked her on Snapchat. When Detective Fredericks asked Witness A if the defendant ever said how he was going to kill his parents, she stated the defendant told her he was going to shoot them. The defendant did tell her he did not have access to any guns, so she did not have to worry about anything. Witness A stated she told the defendant he sounded like a school shooter, and it made her feel extremely uncomfortable, and the defendant again informed her he did not have access to guns, and it was all hypothetical. The defendant did later tell her he would befriend someone with a gun, and then would steal the gun, and then he would use it to kill his parents. Witness A stated the defendant subsequently blocked her, and she blew it off until a friend asked her if she had spoken to the defendant because he had stopped showing up to school. When asked how the defendant felt about his home life, Witness A stated the defendant told her his home life was perfectly happy and he had nothing to complain about. Reports indicate that Detective Ranchow did review the download of the defendant's cell phone on March 6, 2025. In the reviewing the contents of the cell phone download, Detective R did discover several messages that may be relevant to the homicide investigation. There was a message thread from January 29th, 2025, in which the defendant asks, "How long will I need to hide before I will be moved to Ukraine? 1 to 2 months?" The unknown individual replies in Russian that the defendant replies, "Also, I probably should brush up on my Russian because I can understand just fine, but speaking is harder, lol." In another Telegram message thread with an unknown individual, the defendant asks, "So while in Ukraine, I'll be able to live a normal life, even when it's found out I did it?" In another message thread with the date February 8th, 2025, the defendant was communicating with an unknown individual about money, and the defendant asks, "That includes the headphones as well? Quality 1 to protect hearing from gunshots of a .357 Magnum, just making sure." Said reports indicate that Detective LaFleur flew to Garden City, Kansas for the purpose of bringing the defendant back to Wisconsin. During her time with him, when the defendant did speak of his mom and stepdad, he mentioned them in the past tense. Said reports further indicate detective sites reviewed location data associated with the defendant's phone and believed the defendant was in the following locations. So Waukesha, pretty much all over Waukesha. Sites received some video confirming the defendant was at these locations during the aforementioned timeframes. He went to Quick Trip. There was a camera. Bitcoin ATMs. He was using Coinbase and things like that. So he had some kind of crypto knowledge. Based upon the estimated time of death of both victim A and victim B being February 11th, 2025, and the defendant observed during driving victim A's vehicle after that date, even though he did not have a driver's license issued to him, It is believed the defendant did not have victim A's consent to take and operate his vehicle at any time. Further, based on the contents of victim A's vehicle on February 28th, specifically the $14,000 in U.S. currency, over $14,000 in jewelry, presumably given to victim B, and a gun belonging to victim A, it is believed the defendant did not have consent to remove from victim A and victim B's residence or to possess the jewelry purchased by victim A and presumably given to victim B, nor did the defendant have consent to remove the stuff. And then the foregoing complaint, so that's like the original complaint that was filed the 26th of March. So he's in contact with Russia, and I'll bring up the Russian video too here in a sec. So I'll put a link to in the show notes so people can check it out. But that's really just the beginning. This is another interesting. It's this warrant, the search warrant, which we'll go through. This is the federal search warrant that has a lot of information. A lot of the stuff is pertinent to my work on the Order of Nine Angles that's in my book, because I see how knowledgeable he was about certain terms, which I'll explain here, which are specific to O9A, specific to the Order of Nine Angles. Let's go back. So this was filed March 18th. It's an application for a warrant by telephone or other reliable electronic means. And the devices are described in detail. I will not go in detail, but I will go into this fact pattern. But it's the charges are conspiracy, presidential assassination. So they had those charges, and use of weapons of mass destruction. So pretty serious stuff. Probable cause. On February 28th, 2025 at 9, contacted Waukesha County Communication Center to request a welfare check at a residence. Nikita Casap had not attended high school for approximately 2 weeks. Additionally, the school resource officer for Waukesha also requested a welfare check and advised that Casap had been absent for approximately 2 weeks. They went to a welfare check for Tatiana Casap and his stepfather, Donald Mayer. They were unable to make contact. Deputy contacted Mayer's work manager and received information that Meyer had not been to work since February 13th, but had communicated via text message from February 13th to the 24th, claiming to be sick and unable to work. So it sounds like Nikita Casap was impersonating his stepfather. Wisco deputies entered the residence through the garage and found Tatiana Casap deceased, likely from gunshot wounds and covered with blankets. They secured the residence. There was emergency cell phone pings that were located for the phones in Laramie, Wyoming. A neighbor immediately to the west of the residence provided information to police that there had been little activity at the residence for 2 weeks. On February 23rd, PF observed Mayer's black SUV driving away from the residence. During a secondary search of the residence, Donald Mayer was located deceased from gunshot wounds on the first floor office and covered in blankets. During the search, a receipt was found for a .357 Magnum revolver, but the firearm was not located in the residence. Based on information obtained by police during the course of their investigation, including security footage, cell phone records, and witness statement, Mayer and Tatiana are believed to have been killed on February 11th, 2025 at approximately 6:30 to 8:40 p.m. They were stationary on February 24th in Walcott, Iowa. The car was listed as stolen. On March 3rd, 2025, Wisco, or police, obtained a search warrant for Casap's cell phone. During their review, Wisco identified material on the phone related to the Order of Nine Angles, or O9A. Wisco review of the phone identified possible usernames for Casap, including Accelerationist14 and Awoken. And there's evidence he was using Telegram, so you can see the Accelerationist14 handle is still on Telegram, I believe. On March 4th, 2025, Wisco executed a search warrant for Meyer's Volkswagen Atlas. During the search, the following items were located in the vehicle: Pried open safe, women's jewelry, electronics, iPads, cell phones, laptops, $14,000, banking documents, hard drives, and external storage devices, a Simply Safe home security sensor, and a Y security camera with a micro SD card. And a footnote says here, the Order of Nine Angles, O9A, is a network of individuals holding neo-Nazi, racially motivated extremist views. O9A advocates for the use of violence and terrorism to overthrow governments and destroy modern civilization. Wisco reviewed Casap's phone and saw images and communications that reference a self-described manifesto regarding assassinating the president, making bombs, and terrorist attacks. During Wisco review of Telegram messages between February 14th and the 24th, 2025, messages in Russian were identified from phone notifications and translated, including, quote, reply to them all and say you got sick, unquote. B, take and drag them to the basement, unquote. Wisco review of the Y security camera and micro SD card that were found in the Volkswagen Atlas revealed footage from February 16th to the 22nd, including Casap lighting what are believed to be scented candles and rummaging through a desk while near a mound of blankets and pillows covering Mayer's body. Ideology. On March 7th and 8th, 2025, a preliminary review of the device image by the FBI for exigent threats revealed the following conversations. TikTok, December 6th through 8th, 2024. This is all heavy duty, like O9A lingo, and we'll get to that. Awoken. You know, it's kind of interesting how I told this girl, best friend, about how I follow O9A teachings and whatnot, and she was pretty chill about it. I feel like mostly people would freak out, LOL. HBU, does anyone in real life know you're on into O9A, Charlie Manson? Mystic Physics, well, they know. Awoken. My parents don't know, LOL. They would take away my phone if they did, especially since last year FBI visited, too. LOL. And then the footnote is the FBI interviewed the Casap family in November 2023 for unrelated internet IP activity. All members of the family denied the IP activity, and agents were allowed to view devices and internet history and found no corroboration of the alleged internet activity. Mystic Physics, my parents know. Awoken, are you over 18? Because I'm not. Thus, they still have control and take away stuff. Me neither. And your parents don't care? No. TikTok, December 27th, 2024. Nihilius, right? So it's like nihilism, nihil. Hey, dude, do you know any Telegram group where Niners and Drex can interact and exchange info? So a Niner and a Drek, these are both uninitiated, independent O9A aficionados, or people who are interested in it, but they haven't become initiated. So those are like specific terms to this kind of ideology. It's really something else. Sorry, no, I'm mostly into NSWP, crew, TG groups, LOL, National Socialist, White Power. If you do find any, it'd be nice if you tell me. Nihilius, what's WP, White Power? Oh, White Power, cool. Awoken, do you know why O9A Telegram groups? Nihilius, you mean any O9A Telegram groups? Awoken, yeah, typo, LOL. Oh, not a group, but a channel. You can find documents there. All right, send. Can you send me the link to the account? It says I can't access the message. How can I do that? Wait a sec. Here's mine, TG username at accelerationist14. Nihilius, I sent a message. So they always believe, and you'll see these in the documents, he wanted to accelerate the destruction of the country and kill Trump. So that's why he has that handle. 17-year-old kid. Telegram, January 21st, 2025. Accelerationist. What country do you think will get the blame for this? Unknown. Russia will be blamed for it. That is the goal. Accelerationist. When the time comes for me to send my manifesto to you so that you can spread it online, should it be PDF? And also, you won't anyhow change or modify the manifesto. Unknown. Write on a piece of paper and take a picture of it. FBI personnel performing the preliminary review also saw images of a 3-page document entitled accelerate the collapse. The images, which appear to be screen grabs of a document that was displayed on the phone, were created on February 28th, 2025. The document appears to be the manifesto referenced by @accelerationist in the messages, with the unknown user in the above paragraph calling for the assassination of the President of the United States in order to foment a political revolution in the United States and save the white race from Jewish-controlled politicians. The third page of the document contained images of Adolf Hitler with text, quote, "Hail Hitler, hail the white race, hail victory," unquote. Excerpts from the three-page document include, quote, "It is clear that Jews control all of the white countries, and it is clear that they promote white genocide and degeneracy. This, for the white race to survive, it is necessary to accelerate the collapse of the countries. Jewish-occupied governments must fall. The white race cannot survive unless America collapses," unquote. Quote, "As to why specifically Trump, I think it's obvious." So he's definitely targeting Trump. It specifically says Trump. "By getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president, so also maybe Vance, it is guaranteed to bring in some chaos. And not only that, but it will further bring into the public the idea that assassinations and accelerating the collapse are possible things to do," unquote. Quote, "Now, if you say you aren't capable of committing these acts, this is perfectly fine for now. The next best thing you can do is to tribe and train. Make connections, join white conscious martial arts clubs, because once America collapses, there would have to be a network that can take its place. Reading is also important. Read Siege by James Mason, Militant Accelerationism, The Hard Reset by Terragram, Redstone Killer's good source regarding sabotage, A Call to Arms, Juraj Krajcik. The American Futurist have a lot of really good articles. They're former Atomwaffen guys, and there is sure much to learn from the success and mistakes of Atomwaffen." And then you can just go back to my book, like here it is. Order 9 Angles, Atomwaffen. So Atomwaffen rebranded and became the American Futurist, and I have a link to their website. And they're pretty active. It's pretty something else. It's something else. But I have a full in my book. I have a full chapter on Siege and James Mason, his friendship with Charles Manson, the interest of the Atomwaffen and Charles Manson, and going to Manson sites and things like that. It's all in my book, Global Death Cult. I can't believe it's been 4 years. There's so much to update. He also mentions Terragram. Terragram was arrested and wrapped up. I think the two main guys. There's a new documentary about that I haven't seen yet. And then called Juraj Krajcik, I believe, was a Slovakian who killed 2 people in a gay bar. And he was a right winger, but these guys love their manifestos. Next, use Yandex to find bomb-making instructions in those books. If you already know the reality of situation, that there is no political solution, then I would just focus on reading practical material, such as the ways to do attacks. Terragram Publications and Redstone Killers talks of this. If you already know all of that and are just waiting for a signal, well, then this is your signal to act. Jewish politicians and billionaires have names and addresses. Find out what they are and kill them. Quote, "As a side note, the other attacks that may occur, I have no idea what they are, who they target. I have no idea even if they're the same ideology as I. Point being, this manifesto is specifically for the attack that targets Trump." Next, "There'll never be a perfect revolutionary situation that springs up out of nowhere. We need to create a revolutionary situation ourselves. I do agree that only if terrorism is sustained over a period of time can it be effective. In short, huge amounts of violence will be required. Long past are the days when we can vote for a Hitler to save us. It is time we stop waiting. The best day to commit an attack is today. The next best is tomorrow," unquote. Next, "It is time that we lead the way to the system collapse. Do absolutely anything you can that will lead to the collapse of America or any other country you live in. This is the only way that we can save the white race. White revolution is the only solution," unquote. And then the footnotes are, Siege by James Mason is a series of racially motivated violent extremism essays advocating for the use of terrorism to accelerate a white race revolution. It is, but it's been compiled into a book, and that's the book Siege. I think they're on their like 4th or 5th edition. It's gone through different editions. And then just this year, on January 13th, 2025, the United States Department of State designated Telegram Collective as specifically designated global terrorists. And then the American Futurist is an online media platform promoting violent extremism, including articles and guides for conducting acts of terrorism. And then 6, Atomwaffen Division, AWD, is a neo-Nazi white supremacist extremist organization advocating for the use of violent terrorism to accelerate social collapse. And the former head, who was named Brandon Clint Russell, was arrested with his kind of female sidekick for allegedly plotting to, I think they were convicted, allegedly plotting to overthrow or throw down the electrical grid around Baltimore. And Baltimore is like 70% black, I think. This is a new word that I haven't seen before, new acronym, NVEs. Nihilistic violent extremists are individuals who engage in criminal conduct within the United States and abroad in furtherance of political, social, and religious goals that derive primarily from a hatred of society at large and a desire to bring about its collapse by sowing indiscriminate chaos, destruction, and social instability. NVEs work individually or as part of a network with these goals of destroying civilized society through the corruption and exploitation of vulnerable populations, which often include minors. NVEs, both individually and as a network, systematically and methodologically target vulnerable populations across the United States and the globe. They misspelled that. Methodically, that's what it is. NVEs frequently use social media communication platforms to connect with individuals and desensitize them to violence by, among other things, breaking down social norms regarding engaging in violence, normalizing the possession, production, and sharing of gore material, consistent with Nikita Casap, and otherwise corrupting and grooming those individuals towards committing future acts of violence. Those individuals are targeted online, often through synchronized group chats. NVEs frequently conduct coordinated extortions of individuals by blackmailing them so they comply with the demands of the network. These demands vary and include, but are not limited to, self-mutilation, online and in-person, sexual acts, harm to animals, sexual exploitation of siblings and others, acts of violence, threats of violence, suicide, and murder. Historically, NVEs systematically targeted vulnerable individuals by grooming, extorting, coercing, and otherwise compelling through force or the threat of force the victims to mutilate themselves or do violence or threaten violence to others and either film or photograph such activity. Members of the network have edited compilation photographs or videos of targeted individuals, share the photographs and videos on social media platforms for several reasons, including to gain notoriety amongst members of the network and spread fear among those targeted individuals for the purpose of accelerating the downfall of society and otherwise achieving the goals of the NVEs. NVEs networks have adopted various monikers to identify themselves. The networks have changed names over time, which has led to the creation of related networks. Although the networks change names and use a variety of different social media platforms, the core members and goals remain consistent and align with the overarching threat of NVE. And then the conspiracy. He wanted to use a drone to attack. So FBI personnel performing the preliminary review also saw an image with information of how to utilize a drone as an attack drone. The information contains directions on how to extend the range of an attack drone by using repeater drones and ways to avoid detection, such as making a drone from a kit rather than a commercial off-the-shelf brand. The instructions provide direction to use a small dropper to drop an explosive, Molotov cocktail, or very strong topical poison. Additionally, to avoid detection, the instructions advise to not bring a cell phone. FBI personnel performing the preliminary review also saw a Telegram direct message conversation with Poma Biktoy, it's all in Cyrillic, who writes in Cyrillic and has the Ukrainian mobile telephone number. In the conversation, accelerationist Casap states, "How long will I need to hide before I be moved to Ukraine? 1 to 2 months? Also, I probably should brush up on my Russian because I can understand just fine, but speaking is harder. So while in Ukraine, I'll be able to get a normal job and have a normal life, even when it's found out I did it. Do the other 10 people have similar beliefs to I, or are they different? Assuming my parents won't leave, and then the remainder cuts off. FBI personnel performing the preliminary review also saw a Telegram direct message conversation with Angel of Death, username @AngelOKFDeath, that contained the following messages from Casap using the name Accelerationist. Quote, a drone with a dropping mechanism, unquote. Quote, yeah, I still have to ask a cell FUCK regarding what they should be the carrying capacity of the drone unless he told you already, unquote. Anyway, yeah, so the drone would drop a bomb with nuts and bolts and needles, so I will need that. Angel of Death, quote, the total amount will be $1,200 to $1,500 payment by ton BTC USDT. Bike waiting time is 7 to 10 days. The IED 2500 model is reserved for you. Do you confirm the purchase? Accelerationist. Yeah, I'm aware you will only start working once I've paid you, so I'll text you when I can pay. That includes the headphones as well. Quality 1 to protect hearing from gunshots of a 357 Magnum. Just making sure. There's a Bitcoin wallet address. That's your Bitcoin address, correct? Just making sure. So once the transfer is complete and I'll be able to pick it up, is it just a drone with the dropping mechanism or also explosives? How much would the 200 wheels cost for this bike? FBI personnel performing the preliminary exigency review also saw a direct message conversation with an individual, Forrest, who writes in Cyrillic, that contained messages to obtain a different license plate and coordinates along with driving directions from a current location in southeast Wyoming through Kansas to a location near Pumpkin Center, Oklahoma. Additionally, username Alexander802 Casap states, quote, from then from there to Eureka, California, it's 30 hours. You think I'll have enough time, unquote. FBI personnel performing the preliminary review also saw images created on February 28th of the front and back of Mayer's American Airlines AA Advantage credit card and other credit cards. On March 10th, 2025, Wisco interviewed a classmate of Casap. The classmate stated Casap would send gore-edit videos that include flashing, gory, and war images put to Russian music via Snapchat. Casap told the classmate he intended to kill his parents by shooting them, but did not have access to a gun. He later told the classmate that he would befriend someone with a gun and steal the gun. Casap told the classmate he was in contact with a male in Russia via telegram, and they were planning to overthrow the government of the United States and assassinate President Trump. That's it. He was planning to overthrow the U.S. and assassinate Trump. Casap told the classmate that when they saw 10 consecutive attacks in the news, it would have been him. In sum, Casap appears to have written a manifesto calling for the assassination of the President of the United States. He was in touch with other parties about his plan to kill the president and overthrow the government of the United States. And he paid for, at least in part, a drone and explosives to be used as weapons of mass destruction to commit an attack. The killing of his parents appeared to be in an effort to obtain the financial means and autonomy necessary to carrying out his plan. Other parties with whom Casap was in contact appear to have been aware of his plan and actions to have provided assistance to Casap in carrying them out. And then all these devices just shows how many electronic devices he had. They're trying to get it figured out, but they've got like an HP tower, laptops, iPad, phones, cameras, computer tablet, home security cameras, trail cameras, cell phones. So they've got all these warrants to look through the cars, SD devices, electronic devices, forensic analysis, why they're doing it, the importance of like getting the stuff out of there. Consequently, I submit there is a reasonable cause for the court to authorize execution of the warrant at any time or day and night to get in there. And then this list of attachments just shows how many devices there are. So that's telling. I mean, he's literally thinking about killing Trump, which something else. me see if I can find this other documents. Let's see if this is it. But yeah, this is a case I'll keep an eye on. I think that his arraignment is in May, I believe. It's pretty soon, fairly soon. Let me bring this up. But this is the Russian channel thing. This you can translate this, but I think it translates to like Satanism. This is it, but it's in the Varla channel, but you can see my face in here somewhere. I was on here with all these other Russian experts. There I am. Anyway, this is the guy's name, Varla. I'm kind of just chatting about this whole stuff. But it's a long episode. There's all kinds of O9A stuff going on in Russia. It's really something else. Let's see what else I got. This was the Telegram. This is the Telegram group from California, and they were the leaders of the Telegram collective. This is September 2024. So this is something that this guy, there's his parents, poor parents. This is something that Nikita Casap was looking at, was this Telegram group. They all kind of look the same. They all kind of look dead-eyed. Rise and Fall of Telegram. This is recent, March 25th, 2025. 90 minutes. I got to check this out. ProPublica did a bunch of great work, too, for people who don't know. They did a bunch of great work looking at Adam Waffen. They got doxxed. There was a massive doxing campaign by Adam Waffen against journalists. Pretty scary stuff. And then this is the terrorist designation from the Department of State. This is a transnational terrorist group, so pretty intense. And this is the new, I hadn't heard about this until these documents, but this is the new rendition of Adam Waffen. This is the new iteration, I guess you'd say. I don't know if any of these names are familiar to me at all. Lynette Fromm, right? That's a play on Manson family. These are probably all fake names. You can join it if you want. I mean, please don't. You can't joke around with this stuff. But yeah. So who knows? I mean, the guy he was getting paid. One of the members of Adam Waffen that overlapped with O9A was getting paid by the government to basically give information. A lot of money. Well, I think it was over $100,000. But this is where Nikita was found. You can see, let's see, Waukesha's up here. But he was found in like the middle of nowhere in Kansas. I don't know what he was doing. He said he was headed he was driving all the way out to Eureka, which is like weird. Why are you going to Eureka? What's in Eureka? But yeah, it's a lot of driving. Pretty strange. But yeah, this is a case to keep an eye on. I will put a link to this thing if you want to see it. It's got 1.1 million views so far. It's from August last year, 7 months ago. But if you want more of that information, you can check out my book. It goes all the way up to 2021, but I think it provides a really good background on the foundations of O9A and the ideology, as well as the foundation of Adam Waffen with Brandon Clint Russell and some of this other stuff. I mean, but you can check out 764 too. I'd recommend checking out BX on. She's done a lot of great videos and documentaries, and yeah, and you can check out all my I've done so many interviews with Jim Smith, Igor Sarsky, that overlap with the O9A, and just interviews about my book, Global Death Cult. You can just go to my podcast, William Ramsey Investigates, and you can buy the book. You can buy the book from Amazon or my website if you like. But it's interesting. This isn't going away. And this book, I wrote it 4 years ago, and it still sells. Like somebody talks about it or it goes over. like it has a life of its own, so to speak. I guess all books do to a certain extent, but I can tell like sometimes it'll just be like a 10 purchase buy on one day. So somebody somewhere was talking about it. I don't know where it is, but anyway, that's the tragedy really of Nikita Casap and this horrible story. But another person wants to kill the president. So I think according to these documents, that was his goal, is kill Trump. So thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it. And please share this too as well. If you get the chance, I'd really appreciate it if you share my material. I don't have an ad budget. It's just me. I don't have a team. It's me uploading and downloading and doing all the kind of back end stuff. I don't have somebody else to do it. So any help you can provide, just sharing on social media, I really, really appreciate it. But and I appreciate any support and I appreciate people listening. Thanks so much for your time.